We have about another 15 seconds before official start time.
Okay.
And then we'll go.
Perfect.
All right, countdown. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the official beginning. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for signing up to attend. First time we've done this. Hope it goes well. We are tentatively planning on doing a weekly event at this point. They're not all going to be Q&As. I think we're going to probably alternate every other week with Q&As and have a particular topic on the intervening weeks. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll also, of course, welcome feedback and any information that you guys want to provide to us on what your preferences are. And I also want to thank UASA for making this opportunity available. We very much appreciate it. Okay, I'd like to begin with 2 questions that were emailed. The first question was emailed by Heather at J&M Appliance, and she writes, it's on my screen behind, is there an application that will create a queue of emails that are created after operational hours and then send them the next morning at the start of our operational hours? We sometimes work late at night and don't want to disturb our customers who might get alerts on their phones. I've thought about this. Happily, this question came over a couple of days ago and gave me opportunity to think about it. I'm so used to teaching a class that I want to ask, does everybody understand the question, but you can't readily respond to me, so I'll refrain from that. Maybe I should put it again in my own words. Heather's situation evidently is that they're working late at night and they're creating communications, but they don't want them to go out till the next morning so they don't disturb their customers. And she's asking specifically about emails. I've thought about this, and I can't think of an easy way for us to provide this capability. And by easy, I mean one that wouldn't involve building quite a bit of infrastructure. Back in the day, it probably would have been relatively easy. Back in the day, it was easy to use, to have ServiceDesk send emails via Outlook or Outlook Express. And if that was the situation, basically you could have Outlook set offline and create all the emails you wanted in Outlook. And because it's offline, they're not being sent. And then the next morning you go online with Outlook and off they go. In the last many years, Microsoft has made it so that it's pretty problematic seeking to send emails via Outlook. They do that for security reasons because a lot of viruses infect a computer system, and they use the email program, if they can, to send out infected emails to everybody in the list. And so Microsoft has really tightened the ability of other applications to be able to use Outlook. And that's the reason it's become problematic. Because it's become problematic, ServiceDesk uses its own email program, and that solves all the issues in terms of sending via Outlook. But we don't have any provision in the ServiceDesk email system to queue them, as it were, at this point in time. Certainly something we could build, and if we're kind of on an on-demand basis as we choose what to invest in terms of building stuff. If this was something that we could do with a real moderate coding investment, we'd just do it based on one request. But where it's going to be a fairly major investment, we have to be a bit more selective in terms of we probably would need more voices telling us that such a feature is pretty important to them before we prioritize this kind of thing over other things, because we always have a lot of stuff in our development queue. Again, I feel the urge to say, does that make sense to everybody? Which, since you can't all readily answer, I'll refrain from doing aside from mentioning that I'm feeling that urge. The next question is from Don at ATech Appliance Parts and Service in Springdale, Arkansas. And he asks, find where to start it here. We use the iPad for SD Mobile. Like many of you, I've been asking for the following feature for years. So if any of you other Rossware iPad users are on the call, maybe you can also bring it up. We present the online Blue Book to the customer, and it causes us to have to double enter the transactions into SD Mobile on our iPads. I was wondering if or when Rossware thought it might be available to pull that quote and drop it into SD Mobile on iPads. To give you all some context of what this is about, probably everyone on the call knows that we integrate with the Blue Book. There are two different ways that we integrate with the Blue Book. One way is Blue Book data integrates directly into the mobile app, and you make selections directly from the mobile app and then insert to create your invoice or ticket. The secondary way is you use the web interface that Service Company Solutions provides and formulate your ticket there. And then ideally, SD Mobile pulls the information from that cart that's formulated on the SCS website into mobile effortlessly, so there is no such thing as double entry. Double entry, as far as I'm concerned, is a very dirty word that should never be associated with anything that Rossware provides to anybody. And in fact, this question comes as news to me, that automatic pulling in process that's been in the Windows version of SD Mobile for a long, long time is not in the iPad version. I was not aware that it's not there. So, yeah.
I talked to Alex about this about 2 years ago. He said he was working on it, but it's never come to fruition.
Well, I apologize for that. Let me give you some understanding. By the way, you're looking good there, Don. Let me give you some understanding about the greater architecture of the iOS and Android systems in mobile. We had an outside party build the iOS version for us several years back. And the company that did that eventually dropped out of the project. After they dropped out of the project, we went for a period of time without any further development abilities in that environment until Alex learned how to code in iOS and began fixing some bugs that had developed over the years and adding a few features and so on. In the meantime, that version of the iPad app was becoming increasingly problematic because as good as Apple is at lots of things, when they come out with new versions of iOS, there are often changes that break things in existing programs that were previously running just fine. And that was becoming increasingly frustrating. In the meantime, Stephen, who is sort of an outside consultant and developer for us, developed a brand new version of SD Mobile that works or ports out to either the Android or iOS environments. And because of the problems in the native iOS, that's now where we're doing all of our new development. Do you know, Don, if your techs are using the old iOS versus the new one?
Well, they're not old iPads.
No, but we have the two different versions.
Oh, no, we're on the new one.
Okay, so what I need to do then is I need to tell Stephen, who's a developer there, that this is a long overdue priority to have the shopping cart import feature incorporated. He's very, very talented, and I don't know where the breakdown in communication has been that he hasn't done this, but he's a genius, and I bet he can do this function pretty quick when I tell them it's a priority.
I appreciate it.
I'll be happy to make sure it's done for you.
Thank you.
And I apologize for the fact that you've been waiting so long. I mean, that's, oh man, double entry. Ouch. I'm really sorry. That's not good. Okay, so that's those are the pre-submitted questions. We'll proceed now to any question that anybody wants to ask that's here in the group. Anybody? You know, if nobody asks any questions, this is going to go very fast.
Hey, I'll go.
Okay, cool.
Justin, over here next door to Don in Springdale, Glade.
Okay, super.
One thing that seems like it could improve, it's not just a huge thing, but maybe in job perusal, if job perusal is basically a filter for your jobs, it seems like it should work like up to date, you know, filters anywhere else where you could choose, you know, multiple items, like if you wanted to look at working the schedule and dispatched awaiting tech reports or any combination, and then like quantity of days old, I feel like I should be able to pick a date range instead of having to go, you know, 1 to 3, 4 to 7, whatever those are. And
let's look at that, and I got to remind myself, I'm not working in ServiceDesk every day like you guys, so I can potentially get a little bit rusty. Oh, I need to share my screen here, I betcha. Did I lose you?
No, we're still here.
Okay, good.
okay.
You're good.
Oh, my window minimized.
Oh. We can still see and hear you.
Okay, I'm looking for how I share my screen.
Okay, go to the very bottom. It's a green arrow that says share screen and click on it. And then it'll let you select.
There we go. Somehow I minimized it and that wasn't showing. There we go. Okay, sharing my screen now. And switch here to ServiceDesk, and we'll go to the jobs perusal form. So one thing you're saying is you'd like to be able to multi-select these.
We don't see your screen.
Oh, you don't?
No, we're not seeing it. Did
Well,
you click?
dang it.
Did you select what to share?
Oh, I have to do that too?
You do.
Oh my goodness.
Technology.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm a little clumsy at this. I'm actually having a problem finding Zoom to bring back on my screen.
Okay, but let me walk you through it, Glade. You have
There
it up.
we go.
Good?
That's not what I'm looking for.
If not, I see Tech Guru Adam Butcher's on, and he looks like he's paying attention. Maybe he can assist.
All right. We got a Zoom window up that says join a meeting, but I'm in the meeting for crying out loud.
I haven't used Zoom yet to present, so I'm not sure. We use Google.
Yeah, and we use GoToMeeting.
Maybe.
Wow, this is annoying.
Says host is disabled. Participant sharing is.
Hey, Glade, you should be able to hit the share screen button, and then it's gonna.
You know, I minimized Zoom, and I'm not finding it to get it back.
You have to call a phone number, but
I got a post.
Turn on your audio.
Different conversation.
I've got it. I've got a Zoom settings.
Well, I'll share my screen with you real
Here we
quick.
go. Okay,
You
it's
see it?
back. Yeah. Thank goodness. That was weird. I think I better not minimize it again. It disappears on me. Okay. So share screen. Here we go. You have to share the whole screen. Wow.
There you go.
There we
I'm supposed
go.
to be a techie person.
Now you got it.
We won't tell.
Good. Okay. So remind me who I'm speaking with again. Oh, hi, Adam.
Hi, Glade.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks. Okay. So what Justin's asked for is to be able to multi-select items here. And I could see that as being sensible. You can, of course, multi-select items over here, but not in this category. So that's part of his request. And another part was
The dates.
yeah, quantity of days sent. He wants to be able to pick his own range and not have to pick something here.
And
That's not.
also-
That's reasonable.
Sorry. Also, you can pick multiple items on the right,
Right.
but you can't pick multiple items in any given category.
Right.
Say if I wanted to look at two different technicians at the same time, I can't do that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, you just want to make it complicated for me, don't you?
Yes, I want it very.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Anyway, I'll mute.
Okay. Yeah, that's certainly doable. And that's more practically doable than the delayed email thing is too. I mean, it's going to require some investment to do it, but
I mean, if you get on,
it's reasonably practical.
like Amazon or something like that, and you're filtering for items, this, most filters have, pretty selectable
Sure.
kind of thing.
Certainly. Okay. We'll put that on our list. Justin, does that do it for you?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
Okay.
That's
Okay,
great.
cool. Next question, please.
Hey, Glade, there are a bunch of questions being submitted via chat.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to read them to you, or do you know how to access that?
Yeah, go ahead and read them to me.
Okay, let me scroll to the top. 1 second.
Or actually, I'm sure I can.
That's okay.
find them.
Okay, the
let's see
first
here.
one is, Glade, along the same lines of flat rate pricing integration, is it possible to have some capabilities in ServiceDesk so that office staff can quote the same way?
Basically, create Blue Book integration inside of ServiceDesk, I believe is what's essentially being asked. That is certainly possible.
Kevin, if you're on and want to comment or elaborate, please feel free to just unmute and speak.
I'm trying to recall for myself the difficulty level that was involved in doing the integration for mobile. I think it might be quite practical in terms of the investment that's required to make that happen. Because I think we can simply use the same coding modules that we developed for mobile and put them in ServiceDesk and make the menus and paths in ServiceDesk, and that's probably not a terribly difficult thing to do. Is there any way people can raise their hands to indicate how many people would like to have that?
Okay. It looks like anyone on video is raising their hand, yes.
Yeah. But there's a way to raise your hand on the interface too, right?
There is, yes.
Did you guys see the way to raise your hand on that?
But the majority is
How do you do that?
raising their hand.
There's a button for it, I believe.
Yeah, you can also hit the reactions on the bottom if you
Oh, yeah.
want and
do a bunch of
And do a
smiles.
smiley face or something like that. Yeah, see, Kevin Leadham, sorry, is it Moni
I
Naguera?
think I'm seeing a bunch of confirmations. That this
Yes,
would be
you
good.
are.
I think this is definitely something we need to do.
Okay. Perfect.
So thank you for that input, everybody.
Okay, there's Kevin's. Matt asks, we are going paperless and payroll at this time. We have always created a spreadsheet for our men that breaks down subtotal tax, total parts, so their commission was clear. In your system, I am only aware of the spreadsheet created by going to periodic reports. Commissions earned and pulling that over Excel. The report is confusing to the men. The tax column is not correct for him. At all. Is there a better place to go to get a clear report for commissions each week? And Glade, if you need to see these, they're in the chat.
I am looking, actually.
Okay, perfect.
I'm concerned when you say the tax is not correct, because it certainly should be. If you haven't done so already, perhaps you have. If you'd open a support connection and have one of our guys create a ticket.
Greg, somebody's at the counter.
I'm sorry?
I think
Oh,
somebody
my mistake, I
didn't
didn't
mute. There we go. You're good, Glade.
Have one of our guys create a ticket documenting where the tax is not correct. That's certainly something we need to fix.
Hey, Glade, this is Matt.
Hi, Matt.
How you doing, Glade?
Good, thanks.
Good. We have done that with Tony, and we've actually done a screen share with them, and a few times, probably 3 or 4 times.
What he told me was, and of course I was concerned that it was going to drive the tax that we owed to the state of Ohio really out of whack, but he said, no, it's not generated from that. And he showed me where to find the tax report for Ohio, and that made sense, and it was perfect. But when we showed him the spreadsheet with the taxes that are really out of whack, he said it had something to, he actually got off of the horn with us for a long time trying to find the answer. And he said it was the way that it was supposed to be based on the fact that we're only paying commissions on the margin. I mean, he explained that it was the way it was supposed to be, the way we both understood it.
Sometimes I don't get to tickets that they create unless, because it's only me that's doing the programming and ServiceDesk at this point in time, although Steven's actually about to join me. So we'll have a team of 2. But at any rate, sometimes I don't get to tickets even when they create them.
Okay.
Unless there's a special pointer that's saying, hey, you do need to pay attention to this. So Matt, if you'll send me an email asking me to pay attention to that ticket, I'll be sure I do.
Okay, I will.
What do you mean that ticket?
We have an internal ticket system. Virtually any request that comes from a client or request for support, a ticket automatically gets created.
Okay, so you're saying a ticket is I was thinking of, you mean an invoice ticket. So okay.
No, it's most support groups use one of several different ticket systems.
Can we attach one of the spreadsheets so you can see what it looks like? Because all the taxes in it are, they're just totally inaccurate.
I'm sure I'll find it in the ticket.
Okay.
Because they are very conscientious of putting together good documentation to me. They're better at putting it together than I am at always getting to the tickets.
Okay.
I'll have to call Tony to get the ticket then, because I don't have that, but we can certainly send a spreadsheet or call Tony to get the ticket from him.
If you just send me an email, I can probably find the ticket on my own. And if not, I'll go to Tony and have him. I mean, the ticket system has several different filters and searches by which we can usually find just about any ticket we're looking for.
Okay, fantastic. Appreciate it, Glade. Thank you.
Sure. Anyway, would the commission's report in its current form otherwise be all right for you if the tax was accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I take out a lot of the columns that don't need to be there, so it will all fit on one page in a landscape view.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, as long as, I mean, it took us a little while to get there, but yeah, I would say yes. At this point in time, if that tax was corrected, I would have to say yes. But we're only in week 1 and 2, so
Okay.
we need a minute.
All right.
People going paperless. It's a slippery slope.
we'll get that tax worked out for you.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, next question. I can scroll down here, I think, and get it. Glade, along the same lines of flat rate pricing integration, is it possible to have it? Oh, we already did that question. And that one. All right. From Brandy from Vantage Appliance, we were wondering about levels of security and restricting access. We'd prefer the techs and some office staff not have access to periodic reports, etc. Is there a way to do that? Yes, by all means. And see if I can shift this off to the side. And I will show you, I will give you a brief tutorial on the ServiceDesk security system. I think Shift F11, yeah. Shift F11 is the security tab. And you have to use your master password to get into it. What the heck was that all about? Let's try that again. I don't know what Windows thinks it's doing there. There it is. Slow coming up for some reason. So probably most of you are familiar with this, but the general idea is ServiceDesk has a lot of doors that you can have locked. You can have basically a lock on them or no lock on them. And they're in different categories. There's a number of doors associated with the accounts receivable system, for example. A number associated with call sheets, with the dispatch map, with the funds journal, and so on. And the idea is on this page where we're looking at actions, you can go through and you can decide whether there's a lock on that door or not. Basically, it's if it's password required versus not password required. And these default for you according to what has been my judgment of what's typically ideal for a typical operation in terms of which doors have locks on them and which do not. And you just double click the toggle if you want a lock to be on the door that's described. And if a lock is on it, then a password is required to enter through that door. You can sort here on any of the columns. Each of the doors have an ID. You can sort by ID. You can sort by the description, or you can sort by if a password is required. And you see all the doors that don't have locks are lined up, and all the doors that do have locks are lined up. So you have the capability there to control which doors are locked versus not. We'll go back and sort here. And the question specifically concerned reports. And you can see here when I sort by action process, we have reports, entire F11 functionality. F11, of course, is the quick key to get into the reports form. And if you could just put a door on that whole wing of the building, put a lock on that whole wing of the building if you wanted to, so that nobody can enter that wing at all without a password. Or you could leave the wing generally open without a lock and just put locks on particular rooms within that wing of the building, like the sales report or the performance reports or commission and wage reports. So you have that kind of discrimination there. One thing that I encourage all of you to avoid doing that I see in system after system when I'm working in a client system is don't have the whole wing with a lock on its door, plus each of the rooms within the wing with locks on the door, because that way you gotta unlock 2 doors before you get to any report, and that's just silly. Either lock the whole wing, or don't lock the whole wing and lock particular rooms within the wing. Does that make sense? So basically, if you want to lock that whole wing, toggle that to true, and now somebody's got to use a password to get into F11 at all. So that's basically how you put locks on doors versus not. If we come down here and we pick users, this is where you can create passwords other than the master password. The master password is like a master key. It opens any lock. Here you can create other passwords to give to particular individuals. Here's where you make the actual password, and here's where you would keep track of whatever individual you were giving the password to. And when you have any individual selected here under users, or any particular password is a more precise way of saying it, you can then go to permissions, and this will only show you those particular doors that have locks on them. And you can now indicate here whether the password that you created works within each such lock. So you can be very precise as to which passwords you give to which people are able to open which locks. And one of the things that you're going to see happening when you put locks on doors is maybe somebody's requesting that you put in your master password with some frequency, and you realize, I don't even need a lock on this door. Every time ServiceDesk asks you for a password, the password request has an ID number on it. So all you have to do is come here and sort by ID, and you can see the item, and you can decide whether to give a particular password permission, or you can decide if you want to disable, take the lock off because maybe you don't need it. At any rate, it's an easy way to equate the request for a password to the actual item number is by the ID, because always that gives you the ID. One thing that I strongly recommend is don't let anybody have your master password except like the owner or mega manager. I see frequently that everybody in the operation has learned the master password. And when that's the case, you might as well not have any security system up. So if that's happened to you, I recommend that you create a new different master password, which is done by clicking right here. And then keep that master password super, super private. Any questions on that? Did that address the question, by the way? Well, I'm going to assume yes, since I'm not hearing otherwise. Okay, next question.
I think the next
Mark
one,
Phillips at AIG. Can we speak about call statusing, particularly around the completed to product repaired in Service Power? Mark, I have to review documentation to give you any intelligent answer on that, because I don't, and it wouldn't be a good context here to do that, because I don't keep a recollection in my head of
yeah, no, that's fine.
Exactly how the
I just kind of wanted to touch base on it because there's been a lot of, I've seen some articles that are coming from your organization that services send me, and I think I've found some inconsistencies. For anybody on the call, I can give a very quick highlight. Obviously, Glade has his statuses, Service Power have their statuses, and then any vendor under Service Power have their statuses. So it's kind of like a three-way swap there.
It is.
And then inside Service Power, they have 4 main statuses, reject, cancelled, complete, and accepted. And then under accepted, they have all the sub statuses, which is, parts on order and everything else like that. So I'll send you an email, Glade, on this, because
sure.
What you're sending your complete to one of those accepted sub statuses, which is product repaired. So what it's doing is it's actually not completing the job that day. So if someone actually completes the job in your system, it sends us an accepted master status and product repaired substatus, but it's only when they claim that it changes to completed. So they're actually missing out on first time complete unless they're claiming same day. So I discovered that about a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to figure out a couple of things, and
That's pretty significant.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is quite significant. Yeah. So I'll shoot you an email and I'll give you some examples. I've actually got your XML from a couple of calls. Okay. So, but I guess, and then I guess my other question is, are you going to kind of add some more statuses like parts on back order? Obviously, that's pretty big at the moment for everybody. And we're having to take a lot of different actions, in our group with parts on back order, and if we can tell the difference between a part on order and a part on actual back order, and it's probably never coming, especially from some OEMs, it would be nice if we could see that, because then we can take a different action with the customer.
I don't recall if the Service Power API that we're using offers us ability to populate a ETA on the part field.
Well, yeah, that's a total different. Yeah, that's another conversation. But no, I think the difference is you only have parts on order as a status, and I was wondering if
that's a status for the job.
Yeah, yeah.
But we could easily add when we do the status update, we could easily add information as to what is the ETA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a way to.
If there's a field for us to do that with, that'd be very easy to do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, no, we'll take it offline, and I'll send you what I've got.
And if there's not a field for us to add it to, I kind of think we might be doing this already, but we could add program code that looks to see if the ETA is more than, say, 10 days or something like that, some threshold, yeah. And classify the status as part on back order if that's the case. I kind of think we already do that, but I don't remember for sure.
All right. Okay. Well, we can definitely talk. Thanks for answering the question.
Sure. Yeah. On uploading a different, we're talking main status instead of substatus. And we're actually, completed as a substatus?
Yours is completed. It's going to product repaired, which is a substatus of accepted. So in Service Power world, that's still an open call.
Well, we need to upload something differently so that there is an as soon as possible registration on your side of complete, because it makes the services look better.
Yeah, so I think that substatus in Service Power under the open, under accepted, I would use that if I was doing depot. So someone would say, hey, we've completed the repair, but I've still got to ship the product back to the customer or something like that. I think that's why they have it there, but it's pointed to the wrong, obviously pointed to the wrong spot. Yeah.
Well, let me know precisely what is ideal to upload when the job's done that's different.
Yep, I'll do that. Yep.
It shouldn't be hard to change that.
Yep. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. From Brandy, we were also wondering if you will ever integrate GL into ServiceDesk. What is GL? That's not ringing a bell for me. Brandy?
General ledger.
Oh. You mean like accounting?
Thanks, Adam.
I don't think we will. Accounting is a huge deal. I mean, it's huge. And QuickBooks is the far and away de facto standard of accounting systems for small business. And I don't think there's any logic in reinventing that massive wheel that QuickBooks has developed and standardized. That makes sense? Well, hopefully yes. Any comments or questions on that? Go ahead and speak up. Okay. I'll go to the next question. Somebody want to say something there?
Yeah, Jeff Maselli here.
Hi, Jeff.
Regarding QuickBooks, can we do something to have a better integration into QuickBooks Online?
My last understanding about QuickBooks Online is that it has no import feature. Without it having an import feature, we have no ability to export to it. It's possible that that has changed in the last few years, because when I developed that understanding was a few years ago. If in fact they make available a channel for integration, then certainly we can do it. Just last I knew there was no channel provided for QuickBooks Online.
Okay.
And obviously, we can't create an integration that system does not allow.
All right, sure. Yeah, I'd love to get away from
It
the
does.
manual journal entry every
Sure.
twice a month or
Quick,
whatever.
If memory serves me correctly, I believe I made a feature which you may not be using that provides for you the precise journal entries that need to be manually input if you're in a system where it has to be done manually. I'm pretty certain I made that, and if you're not using that, it might a lot simplify that for you. There should only be about 4 or 5 figures that you need to put in on a periodic basis. And
Yeah, you've got a report that you export from your sales report, and it breaks everything down into the sales journal.
That's true, but I think I made a different facility that tells you precisely what the actual entries are that you need to do. I can't think of where I put that, but I'm pretty sure it's there. Send me an email inquiry, and I'll look for it and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
You could go to support, but I'm not sure the support guys would know specifically what you're referring to to be able to answer your question, because that feature is a little bit esoteric. I'm pretty sure it's good. Okay, you guys just saw this come up. There's a new posting about new features. I hope you guys are checking the work diary when this invites you to. The reason I allowed this, didn't already have this checked off, is because sometimes in user systems I see that people are getting pestered by this message, and they always pick this, and they keep, now's not a good time, but I'll consent later, or they just close the message box. And because they never ever consent, they never cease to be getting pestered. I would prefer for you to read the work diary, but I positively don't want you to be pestered endlessly without any benefit. So if you don't want to be reminded later, just say, okay, I consent. It's going to open the page for you. You can close it immediately and not pay any attention to it if that's your preference. And you won't get pestered again until there's a new work diary entry. I hate to have, ServiceDesk is a real pest as it is, as you know, in terms of trying to keep you on the straight and narrow. And I hate for any pestering to occur that doesn't actually serve a benefit. Okay, let's read this one from Phil Plant. Our biggest complaint from techs is that they have to put info for an estimate, then erase all info to go back and charge a service call and order parts. Let's say on iPhone. That indeed sounds bad and not favorable. Something that needs to be improved. Certainly I can go to Stephen on that, and we'll be happy to, because we're talking about on the iPhone. I also want to mention to you guys that Stephen seems to be perfectly happy about clients going to him directly about any issues they have in his product. And again, his product is the newer iPad version. I think the newer iPad version has a blue icon instead of red, which the old one does, if I'm remembering right, and the Android version. And let me give you Stephen's address, his email address, if in case you wish to go to him directly. I've got another screen back behind me here. Gotta go to that keyboard. Pardon me. Got too many keyboards and mice in front of me. Okay, it's Stephen, Stephen, at nexussoft.com. Nexus is spelled Nexus and then OFT, nexussoft.com. Sometimes, as I said, he seems to welcome direct emails about requests or issues regarding his work. So if you want to go directly to the developer on his work, by all means, go ahead and use that email and communicate your concern to him. Does that help?
It does, Glade, but I mean, they're complaining about all platforms really doing the same thing. So in Windows or
I'm going to double check in Windows. I didn't think that Windows was requiring that.
okay.
But I'll double check.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Sure. You betcha. Okay. From Sarah, a question was sent via email by Jeff. Can the little bugs that are throughout the program be cleaned up? Yeah, absolutely. And they're constantly being cleaned up. The difficulty is that nobody's ever satisfied with the existing feature set. Everybody always wants new features, and it's not possible, so far as I know, to keep building new features without simultaneously, in some instances, creating new bugs, which then have to be cleaned up. It's kind of the nature of the game. If we could finalize the product, this is it, and then thoroughly debug the finalized product, we could be bug free, or at least virtually bug free. But constant ongoing development it keeps making new bugs. It's a little bit like walking in sand in that regard. Do please, when you get error messages, go ahead and consent to email them. I'm actively respond to those internally. I don't always respond back to the sender. But those error messages give me information about what's happening for me to then go find the problem in the program code and address it. Occasionally, I can't determine from the initial error message exactly what went wrong, but I always add more stuff that with the next release, when that same error next occurs, gives me more information. And sometimes on the second time around, I now have enough information to figure it out and fix it. Sometimes it takes a third or fourth round before I have enough information to fix it. But at any rate, it's kind of an iterative process between new developments and new bugs and fixing them. And I don't know how we can have such a system that does so many complex things and keep adding new features and not sometimes have new bugs. I wish it wasn't so, but it seems to be the way it is. Any further questions on that?
Yeah, Glade, I just want to add, this is Jeff. I'm
Hi, Jeff.
the one that asked. So it just some of the bugs they're not new. I mean, they've been around like kind of a long time, and I know I've asked over years for some of them. And these are just a minor, they're like little ticks. I mean, you can work around, you just always just kind of blow by them. They don't really stop you, but they kind of just, they're always poking at your skin every time you go through there. So
there are some things that happen in a Windows environment where Windows goofs up. I don't know if the situation is referring to those or not, but when an application is asking for an operation and it's making the correct request, and it's a request that Windows should fulfill, but Windows doesn't fulfill it, and ServiceDesk can't proceed with doing what you wanted it to do without Windows fulfilling it. In that case, there's no choice for the application but to tell you that it's got a problem in terms of it needed for this to happen and it didn't. Occasionally, when we're aware that kind of situation is happening on an ongoing basis and with any frequency, actually I'd say every time we're aware of that, if it's possible, we'll create a different method of doing that thing instead of the method that was being used in terms of the request that's being made to Windows. And hopefully the different method doesn't catch Windows with its pants down, not doing what it needs to do. Some things there is no workaround for. For example, if Windows needs to access any of the files, any of its data files, and for whatever reason Windows hiccups and will not provide access to that file, there's no workaround for that. And ServiceDesk is going to tell you, hey, I was trying to access this file and Windows isn't giving me access to it, in so many words. There's no workaround from the coding or program side for that. There may be a workaround in terms of your server and networkability that's causing the issue. We've actually seen that happen many times where it's just an environmental issue rather than in the code itself. One big note on this. A problem that replicates, just like when your techs are fixing appliances, a problem that reliably replicates is a billion times easier to fix than one that does not reliably replicate. So if you have any kind of a bug issue that you've figured out how you can reliably make it happen, I love that to pieces. Because if it can be reliably replicated, it can be reliably repaired. So please, anything that you have arising, see if you can figure out how to reliably replicate it, and if so, connect with support and have them document exactly how to reliably replicate it. Because that's like honey for me, is a reliably replicable problem. Does that make sense?
Does to me.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Thanks for addressing it.
Sure. All right. From Steve O'Connor. Hi, Steve. Steve and his boss visited me back when I was still running Aardvark Appliance service. Remember that, Steve? Yeah, he remembers it. I agree with the backorder flag. If, for instance, we could make a part showing out backorder, if, for instance, you could click on the special order band and changes it to a different color and possibly sort the special order part screen by special order backorder. I think, Steve, I don't know if you can unmute yourself so you can speak here, but I think you're suggesting that instead of merely having an ETA that is maybe stretched out at some point in the future, there's an explicit flag for back ordering. We could create one. I guess my feeling has always been that the ETA field is a lot more precise than an indication of being back ordered or not is. I mean, a back order item might, you might have it tomorrow potentially. Just because it's back ordered doesn't mean you're not going to have it fast. and something that's not backordered could be a lot longer. So to my way of thinking, the ETA field is a lot more informative than a binary backorder flag would be. But I'm certainly willing to rethink that. Do you have any further input on that, Steve? All right. Maybe Steve isn't set up with a mic. Okay. Steve's saying he thought it was virtual. From Jason again. With the new parts process form, what status does the part have to be in for the triage part that was not used to show up on the needs to be returned section of the parts pick list? You're going to make me think hard on this one. Okay, so what we're referring to here, I think, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to go to Control F8 here and manage to the grave, I think is what you're referring to.
Shift Control F8.
Oh, Shift. Okay. Okay. So you're talking about, okay. You're not talking about the to the grave management precisely. You're talking about the parts pick interface. These are all the items that we're expecting back from a technician. And it's funny, you call this the new parts process form. This has been around a long time. Okay, so you're referring to, I think, a inventory part that was spec tagged for an item. And your question is, what has to happen for it to be expected back? I would have to review to give you the absolute precise doctrine on that. But it is along the lines of it wasn't indicated in any previous visit that he used it. And he's not scheduled personally to do the job on which it was spec tagged for. Basically, there's not a new appointment on that job assigned to him that is scheduled for within the next day. The logic is along those lines. The thinking is if he's got the part, and he's not scheduled to himself be going to the job within the next day or two, I forget the exact threshold, you need to get that part back, because you may be sending a different tech on that job, and you need that part back so that you can give it to that different tech. Or maybe the job was done, in which case you need to get the part back. Basically, any spec tag part that the technician has that he's not scheduled within the next day or two to go out on that job, the system figures you ought to be getting back from him. That make sense?
Hey, Glade, Jeff here. Can I just add on to that
Sure.
a little bit? So you're right. If the job goes out, it was assigned to that tech with that part, and then for some reason that job gets canceled or rescheduled. As soon as that date changes, it will shift it to the column on the left where it's a part due back. Also, if the job was completed and the tech was there but didn't use the part, and he marks it as a not used for whatever that he didn't use it, that's the other trigger. So those are the two triggers.
Yep. I think anytime he's got it, if he's not scheduled in the next day or two to be back out, it's going to figure it needs to come back from him. That's my best recollection, and that would actually fit both of your scenarios. That one criteria actually answers for both of them.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Okay. Any further questions on that? And thank you for the input, Jeff. From Monet, is that how you say the name? Is there a way to look for specific information without having to use Alt F3 function and having to export it to an Excel spreadsheet? And hopefully there's a description here because I need to know what specific information it is that you're referring to. It's a different question. Monet, if I'm pronouncing that right, can you expound on what you're referring to in terms of the specific information you're seeking? I mean, I need to know what information it is that you're seeking that you're finding in that export, but you don't otherwise know a way to get to. Let's see, maybe you're typing in here. Okay, let's read further. Can a button be added or a list be made when using Control F2 to make searching information easier as opposed to pushing S and then the continue button? All right, let me remind myself what Control F2 does because I don't remember off the top of my head. Control F2. Oh, okay. This is your archive job record search or archive job records. And can a button be added to the list to make searching easier? I guess what you're asking for is other than just an item by item search, like, you know, I can hit S for search or I can hit Control F2, that works, and I could type in a target and it finds a target for me in your archive call sheets. And then I got to do S again to resume the search. I guess you're probably asking if it could like show everything at once. It could be coded, but I mean, I would generally think that searching an archived call sheets is a pretty not very frequently needed function. I wonder if what you're using this for couldn't be better satisfied with something else. And that might lead to your next question. A lot of times our techs are looking for specific info about a customer unit. They can't always remember the details. Let me show you something that I think a lot of people don't realize is there. And I'll explain a little bit of a story to go with it. And then we probably need to end because we're out of time, unless it doesn't matter if we go over. I don't know if it does or not. Sarah can help us on that.
I was going to say, we can go over if you guys want to, or we can save these for next time.
Okay. So I would sometimes leave a tool when I was doing a repair. And I wouldn't realize it was missing until days later. But when I noticed it was missing, I could remember where I'd been when I last used it. I couldn't remember the name of the customer or anything like that, but I could remember what street it was on. So I had made this street search. And I found that was very, very handy to find and jobs where I'd been on that street, and I'd find the job I'd been on, and then I know to call up the customer and say, hey, can I get my XYZ tool back, or drop by and get it back. Got a funny story on that one. I once left a putty knife at a house, and you guys probably use, if you're any of these technicians, putty knives are handy for lots of stuff aside from dealing with putty. Anyway, I called up and the man of the house said, nope, haven't seen it. I dropped by a few days later and the wife answered, and she said, let me look in my husband's toolbox. And sure enough, she brought it back to me. Anyway, that's my story on that. So anyway, you can do a number of searches here, and you can also search in the history. So there's some key expression that maybe the technician can think of in the narrative history that would, maybe be somewhat unique to that job. You can do a search here in the history, and sometimes that's pretty useful. Anyway, any questions on that? Kenya, it looks like you're saying something. Or is it Kenya?
It's Kenya.
Okay, hi Kenya. How are you? Did you want to add something?
I think she's on the phone, actually.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Let's maybe do one more question and then see if we should end or not. Also on the parts pick list, we'd like to have a way to check off all the items in the left column so we don't have to individually check each one. Okay. We'll go back to parts pick. And I think if I right click on here, well, that's not it. Let me look at my tooltip. I think we made a way to do wholesale checking, but we didn't.
Steve answered my question later in the thread there. Yeah, if you right click on record movements as here indicated, it brings up the option to toggle everything and
that's it.
over to Grade.
Okay. Right. Okay, good. I knew it was there somewhere. Thanks for helping out, Steve. Perfect. Let's go to this one. Come on up. Any chance to get a consolidated dashboard such as what? Kevin Leadham, can you expound?
I think there's a PNG right above it, like a picture. But I can't share it. I'm not able to see it.
All right, let me stick this on my desktop. Let's see here. Don't support PNG? I don't have a PNG viewer on this computer, evidently. I need to install one. That's weird. I think I have a PNG viewer. I should have a PNG viewer.
Yeah, I think it's a file. I don't think it's actually or it's Zoom,
okay.
One of the two.
I think, Kevin, can you expound on that question? Just not.
Kevin, you're muted if you're still on. We're losing people. We're
okay. All right, guys. What do you think? Is that enough until next time?
Well, let's save these questions so we can address them.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to address them offline as well as
we can
do them next week. Okay.
Sure.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you for attending, everybody. I hope this is useful to you.
Yes. And thank you, Glade, for doing it. We appreciate it. And I know the members appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Sarah.
Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.